Dennis in Clinton, Maryland writes, he says, Paul, I watched your 12918, 1918. 1918. No, that couldn't be 1918. Man, that's back when the First World War was probably 2018, you dope. All right, sorry, not you, Dennis, me. Sometimes, see, I've talked to you about, I can't remember the order of the months. I have trouble with math, and here I thought he's talking about 1918. Probably 2018. Anyway, that was a long time ago, 4 years or so ago. And it was a description of Arnie Nudell's IRS killer. And now that the FR30 is out, would you be willing to describe the changes that you and your team decided upon and the rationale for the changes, presumably for the better, from then to now? What changed from the IRS killers that Arnie Nudell designed, and were the changes engineering improvements and or were they financial? Well, they weren't financial. So we'll get that out of the way. These are Arnie Nudell's speakers. And I've been trying to find somebody helping his son, David, find somebody to take these speakers. I mean, they're amazing speakers, truly amazing. His best work, and here's a guy that devoted his entire life to the art of audio, of home reproduction of the highest quality. And these speakers, well, somebody's going to make a good home for them. There's a whole collection of stuff that goes with them. And these speakers basically, you can see, they're Corian on here. And these are ribbon tweeters, a bunch of ribbon tweeters. And then here is this large ribbon mid-range. There's a mid-bass coupler. And on the side, there are twin 12-inch woofers. And the cabinet is unique. I think it may have been designed by Gary Coe, who bought Genesis from Arnie after I left. These indeed were amazing speakers. So the mid-bass coupler and the woofer were all self-amplified. This was a servo system. This is not a servo system. And these are all passive. Okay. So when we first started, I was convinced, after having designed all of the servo systems for years for Genesis and for a couple of other companies, I was a lover of servo-controlled woofers. Absolutely in love with them. Convinced that they were the best, because those woofers, you could take, and we did, I don't want to say a cheap woofer, but you couldn't take a cheap woofer. These aren't exactly cheap, but they're not exactly, high-end either. And you can take a great woofer, a good woofer, and put it in a box, and it doesn't do so great. It's got distortion. It doesn't move as quick as it should. You add a servo control to it, zoop! The feedback on there makes the distortion go way down. It's quick. It's flat. I mean, there's every reason in the world to believe that that is a great way to do it, and it is. Absolutely. So I was convinced on that. When Chris Brunhaver, our speaker designer, came and started working together, he very quickly wanted to talk about the woofer system. And Chris and Darren Myers, our senior hardware engineer, total whack job audiophile. And Darren has a great podcast. He and Duncan Taylor, if you ever want to do it, they have a great podcast. Darren and Chris started working on me to rethink my position on servos. And part of their reasoning was, yeah, they do all that stuff great, but like anything in engineering, they are a compromise. And yes, they allow you to take a reasonable woofer and make it turn into a great woofer, but they can be limiting in their thwack. They can be limiting in the impact and dynamics that they are able to present in a very natural way. And I had never heard that. No one's ever proposed that to me. In fact, Arnie was always convincing to me that it was exactly the opposite. So, and compared to a lot of woofers, that happened to be true. So we set up and did an experiment, and Chris and Darren set it all up, and we A/B'd it. We used not these speakers, but we used some other speakers, and in fact, it was the original pair of what would become the FR30s, but don't look anything like what these do today. And we played various bass pieces on that, and every single time, Chris's passive design blew away the servo design. All right, what's up with that? Well, it turns out that if you're willing to design from scratch a state-of-the-art woofer that itself is extremely low distortion, and Chris designs these woofers, they're crazy. Faraday rings, split coils, double spiders. These things make the woofers that Arnie and I used at Genesis look like a joke. If you do all of that, that is better by far than taking a cheesy woofer and putting it in. And I'm exaggerating when I say cheesy, but I just want to make that point. And people ask me, well, what happens if you take your great woofer and then servo it? And because of the nature of the servo, which means you have to make an error before it makes a correction, it still sounds better without the servo. So the servo is a great way to take a medium woofer and make it great. Okay, enough of that. So, in fact, you know what? This is going on long enough. So I just talked about servo woofers and Arnie's speaker. Let's continue this tomorrow, and I will recap a little bit, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it. I don't want these videos to get too long. Sometimes they get so long, so I hate to make you wait till tomorrow, but let's do that. Okay, so I'll see you tomorrow. Just come on back, and we're going to talk about these and answer more of your questions. All right. Part 2 tomorrow.